Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Perry Holly, a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator and Coach.
And I'm Chris Cody, Executive Vice President with Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. Just as a reminder, we would love for you to download the Learner's Guide. Perry not only helps create this content, but also develops a learner guide for you to be able to follow along.
I'm a full service provider.
On our full service provider, yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about that actually in today's session and what that has caused a little bit of angst in it. So, but we're grateful that you would take the time to listen. Our goal is to simply bring to you what we're hearing in the field and real challenges that are happening with teams and with organizations. But if you'll go to maxwellleadership.com/podcast, there you can download the form. You can submit a question. You can submit a topic that you'd love for us to talk about, or maybe even just you're interested in bringing one of our team members to your team to help you with some of the things that we talk about here on this podcast. We would love to be able to do that. Well, today's topic is stop wishing things were easier. And I have to tell you, the first thing I thought about was, you remember back in the day, there was that easy button, right? I think, man, you may even have it, or one of our team, maybe Tammy has it. And it's where, it's like you hit that button and everything's going to get easier. That's not necessarily the case. But talk to us a little bit about just where this is coming from. As I mentioned, like this is real-time stuff. We're just being raw, authentic, what we're hearing in the field, what we're dealing with as leaders, and so hopefully this will be helpful to you.
Yeah, I walked in the studio and Jake said, "Hey, what have you been learning lately?" I said, "Stay tuned for episode 1."
Yeah, that's right.
So the last 6 months have been incredibly hard. Lots of requirements, lots of requests. Grateful to be in demand, but lots of custom work, and I found myself overworked, stressed, anxious. Having a bad attitude, really, why can't things be easier? And then I recalled, I'm a big Jim Rohn fan. I listened to all Jim Rohn stuff, read all Jim Rohn stuff. If you haven't, you should. But Jim Rohn had a quote he always said was, "Stop wishing things were easier, wish you were better." And man, did that hit me hard. I said, "Come on, Perry, what's going on? Well, this is a chance to raise your game. This is we'll talk through some of the things I think I've dealt with there, but I started sharing this on over the last month or so with some of my coaching clients, and people, I can see them on Zoom stop and take a note and say, "Man, that's really good," because we tend to want things why can't it just be a little easier?
Yeah.
Hey, why can't you be a little better?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm missing the opportunity, and it completely changed my attitude.
Yeah, I usually go through and the content that you provide, I go, man, he's talking to me like this is an intervention for Chris, but I feel like this is an intervention for you, and so I'm excited to kind of flip the tables on you right here. So I'm gonna go off the script, and I got some questions for you. I remember you coming to me. This was a little while ago when you kind of first realized it and read that quote, and I think that it got me in a place to where I think it's human nature. We naturally sometimes go that way, right? The path of least resistance. It makes me think about a couple of things, which is. I remember a story that Truett Cathy talked about around them growing the Chick-fil-A business, which you're very familiar with, and where he said, no, we're not just going to grow to grow. That's the easiest way. Like, we're going to grow when our customers demand that we grow, and the only way that's going to happen is when we get better, right? And then the demand's going to be there. And I was like, in essence, that's really a good one. That's really what's going on here, but from a personal growth standpoint, right, and a development standpoint. And there are times as leaders, there are times as individual contributors that things are hard, and things are uphill. John says all the time, everything worthwhile is uphill. The problem is that we have downhill habits or downhill expectations of we're going to wake up and we're just going to kind of get through the day. And what we don't realize is that then the hard creates anxiety, creates stress, and so what do? Then that kind of is portrayed upon our team members. And so let's stop right here and say, you were portraying that onto me, because I could feel the anxiety. I know it was hard. There was a lot, and you had all these different, I remember going, I know Perry joined our team years ago, and I'm not saying he was retiring because it's a different season. Rewiring, a different season of his career, but I don't know if he thought he was going to be this busy.
That's what my wife said. I thought you were backing down.
You're
going harder than you've ever gone.
And so, but I love it, right? You realized it.
Yeah.
And then we began to have conversations, and it is an invitation. As Jim Rohn said, it's an invitation for us to up our game when it comes to whatever it might be, logistics, leadership, connecting with people, whatever is the hard for you right now. There's no doubt about it that there's an opportunity for us to raise our game. And we're in the growth business, personal growth business. And so this aligns exactly with what we believe in. So,
Marcus Aurelius said that the obstacle is the way. And that reminds me that every great thing you've ever done, if you look back in your life, man, I had a great accomplishment. I guarantee you it was on the backside of something hard, something that was in the way, some obstacle. And once you get through it, you fight through it, you have greatness. You succeed. You grow in that area. And so I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but we can all raise our game. There's always a next level. And I guess one of the first big learnings I had was complacency. We talk a lot about that success breeds complacency, and that we've had some really successful times over the last, 24 months. We've been doing good work. We've got new clients. We're doing new coaching, new deliveries, new video series, new YouTube channels. We're doing a lot, and I love it. You're right. I could do it 24 hours a day, and currently I am. So
that's right.
But the complacency breeds a little bit of I don't know, that's getting hard. Yeah. And I'm so glad the wake-up call came, because it really helped me to kind of reassess where I am and what I'm doing. And there really is an obstacle, and that's the way. And that I can grow through this and be better for it.
Yeah, and I think, too, also, look through my career, and I think a lot of you listeners would agree with this, when you think back to some of the hardest times of development, of quotas, of whatever it might be, when you get on the other side of that, you go, if I approached it right, you get on the other side and you go, man, I learned a lot through that, and this is what I learned, and this is now how I've changed, and this is how we've adapted. It also makes me think about our CEO, Mark Cole. When we go through some tough times as an enterprise, his wife, who's a fantastic leader herself and a great communicator, she says to him when things get a little tough, she goes, "You were made for hard. Yeah. Like get in, go, let's go, dig in."
That's a good reminder. Yeah.
You are made for hard, and I think all of us are made for hard. I think we, to your point, sometimes we just want to be complacent through it and just kind of say, "Oh, I'll take the easy road out of that."
Well, I had a couple of things. 4 or 5 things I've learned here. You want to take a shot at that?
Let's dive into it.
Well, the first one. The first one I noticed was my mindset. We talk about mindset a bit, but how do you think mindset plays into stop wishing things were easier?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that, the growth versus a fixed mindset, or the infinite versus the finite game that we're playing. And it's an infinite game, by the way. It's not we're going to tackle what's hard and then it's over. There's no finish line when it comes to really leading people, helping them grow, going from success to significance. There's no finish line in that.
I just saw a quote, a proverb from some culture. They said that behind those mountains are more mountains.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I love it. Yeah. And so I think those that have this kind of fixed mindset where they just feel like this is how God made me. This is how I was made. Yeah. I can't grow. I'm not getting any better. And they just kind of sit in that. And you all are right now thinking of somebody maybe on your team, maybe inside your circle of influence that have that, and they just don't think they can improve their abilities over time, versus a growth mindset, which is what we firmly believe in. We believe in more growth than we do goal mindset. You got to have goals, and you got to drive yourself to some of those in your teams. But really what's above that is the growth mindset, where you believe you have these basic abilities, but it's on you to develop them in order to get to a place to where you can get through the hard work, where you can do the hard. And the only way to do that is to buckle up and say, man, I'm going to grow through this one way or another.
I'll tell you, a funny thing was, I consider myself quite the growth mindseted guy.
You are.
Wouldn't you say?
You are.
I'm like the
avid
poster
learner.
Child for growth mindset.
Before we turned the mics on today, I just said we were talking about Audible books and different things. I was like, I can't keep up with you, right? Yes.
However, I was exhibiting some serious fixed mindset characteristics, and I started noticing that I don't know that anyone that I know, or or Jake knows, that would admit to being a fixed mindset person. It just, when you read the descriptions, you say, no, I'm a growth mindset.
Yeah.
However, I just want listeners to hear this, that you can fall into a fixed mind with that complacency, and you're uncomfortable, and I just want it easier. I fell into a fixed mindset. I can't do this. And I had the attitude started to arrive and some things like that, and some putting, anxiety and some stress. And I just I don't wish it was easier. Wish I was better. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of flip that switch and say, let's go back to growth. And I had slipped into a fix. So it was a little bit of an odd thing because I think I'm pretty growth minded, but no, I was exhibiting fixed for sure.
Hey, podcast listeners. Do you have a clear plan for growth? Achieving big results most often does not require big life changes. Small improvements over time compound into big results. Download the Maxwell Leadership app. It's the new free app where our expert guides and John Maxwell help you pace your leadership journey and set a clear plan for your own personal growth. You can also find all sorts of resources on the Maxwell Leadership app, including this podcast, information on upcoming events, and much more. Just search Maxwell Leadership in your app store and download the app today.
Haven't we done a podcast on bitter versus better, right? Similar thing here where we get into that and we don't have the right mindset and we go into this, we think we have a growth, but it's probably more fixed. And all of a sudden we find ourselves becoming bitter versus becoming better through that process. And so I just came to mind as we were talking. Yeah. Well, the second lesson that you have in our notes here, when we talk about stop wishing things were easier, wish you were better, is to really talk about once you become aware of the mindset, the growth mindset, how teachable are you in this space? And I think that from a leader's perspective, this is an attribute that to me would be in the top 5, top 8 attributes to have as are you being teachable? And it really shows up when things get hard.
You can tell, I always ask people, can you tell when someone's teachable? What are the characteristics of teachable people? And in this situation where I found myself in a tough place, and so many of the people I'm coaching, it's just hard right now. There's lots of challenges going on, world economics and financial challenges and recessionary challenges, and then this business challenges,
quiet quitting.
It's just it never ends. But to think am I teachable? What am I learning? What could I do? Do I have a mindset that I know it all and I've got it, I've arrived, or do I say no? There's always something new. It may involve taking a chance and failing, and what did I learn from that? For me, this was a teachable moment of saying, why am I so easy to want to? Let's make it easier for me. No. I need. How can I raise my game? And so, what is it I need to learn in this? So teachable was a big deal for me. I'll tell you the next one. I'd love your thought about this. Was I started noticing that, and I wouldn't have said this either. The comfort zone. I have a comfort zone, and I realize we all have a comfort zone. We all understand. If anybody you talk to talks about, I need to get out of my comfort zone, but that's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I guess that's why they call it a comfort zone.
That's right. That's where we all like to kind of sit at times, and I think it's a problem that a lot of us face. But I want to say this too. One of the things I loved about this whole process, and I'm glad we're sharing this with our listeners, is that not only did you kind of realize it, but then you had a conversation with me about it so that we could dialogue around it, so that you could say, hey, I do want to be teachable. Hey, I do want to get out of my comfort zone in the right way. Like, I feel like I'm out of my comfort zone right now. It's the wrong way, in essence.
That's a good insight right there.
Is what you were saying. And so I want to have a different mindset and get out of my comfort zone in a positive way. And in order to do that, you got to have a self-awareness, which is what happened. You realized it. Yeah. You became aware. I noticed it, right? Just working directly with you. I could feel it and I could notice it, but it wasn't probably as drastic as it is in your head. And so you had that self-awareness to recognize this challenge that you're kind of dealing with, and that in order for me to really get through this and lead it in the right way, I've got to get out of my comfort zone. I got to enlarge. I like you put this in my notes here. Enlarge your comfort zone, which is really not your comfort zone, right? So, but to do that, you during hard times, you got to know your comfort zone is going to be stretched, and it's okay that it is. Because you're going to learn from it.
It's just a great graphic. I used it many times over the years in charts. I haven't seen it in a while, but it says, circle your comfort zone, And then it has out here where great things happen.
It's not
it's
even
not
anywhere
in your
close.
close to your comfort zone. I thought, but what caused me to come and talk to you was the next one. The learning was about my attitude. What the indicator is that I also would consider myself a pretty positive guy, and here I was complaining, whining, anxiety, feeling stress. I don't normally feel stressed because I'm in my strength zone. I'm doing the things I should be doing, but now I'm complaining. I thought, I think I was with you. I said, I don't know, I can't keep up. I hate that. What are these hours? Who are you? I thought I went back to you to tell you, but I to say, I was negative about my work, about customizations for clients, and they like me so much. They said, "Hey, you did this. Could you do that?" And I go, "Well, yes, I can." And then I go back to my my workspace and go, "What did I just commit to?" And I just committed to getting out of my comfort zone and expanding my in my comfort zone and. Stop wishing it was easier, wish I was better. It's how all these things started coming true.
Yeah.
But attitude really kicked in.
Yeah, and John, obviously from an attitude standpoint, I remember reading, again, I've been with John a long time, and I think one of the first books I read when I joined him 20 plus years ago was Attitude 101 or Attitude is a Difference Maker or something like that. It had a red cover, I'll never forget it. And he says it literally is the difference maker, right? Mm-hmm. Your attitude and your approach. And what's interesting in the comment I want to make right here is that these things are going to happen not just in areas you're not gifted at. This is Perry's sweet spot. Like, like he is a content writer, he is a communicator, he is a coach, and in those three areas, it just became a little bit much. And this is where he kind of got into that spiral of beginning to go through the process and say, where is this coming from? And then self-evaluated it, which again, back to self-awareness, it's such a large part of our success in our personal life, but also our professional life. And until we become aware, and until we're comfortable asking ourselves the tough questions, and then even the next step, which is you came to me and said, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm learning. we need to talk about this. I need you to hold me accountable to it. Like that's just, again, another step in becoming successful, because you're evaluating your mindset. You're willing to be teachable. You're having a good attitude post once you realized it. Post your life. And then we can kind of talk about it. And here now we're sharing it with our in a lesson with our listeners all around the world on our podcast, and hopefully it'll add value to them as well.
I'll just tell you, I'll let you wrap it up, but the outcome is that it's still hard right now. I mean, it's still in a heavy place, but I actually I said, this is fun. This is enjoyable. My energy is back. And I realize, even though it's hard, I got something coming up in 2 weeks. I don't have anything. I'm studying right now to figure out what's going to be my message. But instead of, if my whole energy level has gone up with that. And this applies to your whole life, by the way. Don't wish your marriage was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish parenting was easier. Wish you were better.
That's so good.
And I just find that almost everywhere that I feel challenged, I say, what's it's calling me to a higher level.
Yeah. So thank you for your authenticity and transparency as you kind of went through this, and to be able to share it with our listeners. I think as I wrap up, there's two things that come to my mind about this. Is that, don't forget that some of the greatest growth areas in your life are things that are hard on the front end. And what's the statement? How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah,
one bite at a time. And the mindset that sometimes I have to have is, when I know things are hard, I'm an analyzer by trade, so I like to process things. And by the way, the negative side of that is I will get to a place to where I procrastinate on things because I can't see how it's going to be perfect at the end of things. So I just kind of back off, and I don't necessarily start things, where I have to tell myself, hey, this is not going to be fun. This is hard. I'm going to learn, but I'm going to learn step by step. I don't have to eat the elephant all at one time. Take one step. What did I learn? Great. And then what I find is, once I do that, I get a little momentum in the hard things, and then I'm good at working through that. The second thing is, what I learned from this was, it made me back up and look at Perry's workload and say, these are the things that Perry does really, really, really well, and that it's his sweet spot, and he's fulfilled in it, not only personally, but our clients are benefiting from it. How do we reallocate his time? And you and I briefly shared some, hey, these are some percentages maybe we need to look at changing a lot of it. And that's growth, right? Like, understand when we say growth is going to happen, it may not just be in you personally. It may come from how you look at your role. It may be, how does the organization perceive you, or what is the team's responsibility? There's all kinds of changes, which, by the way, is growth, that can happen when you become aware of this is really what's going on the inside, and we need to talk about how do we go and get to a mindset where we quit wishing that things are easier.
Right. Good deal. Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you all. Just a reminder, if you'd like to get the learner guide for this episode, leave a comment or a question for us. You can do all that at maxwellleadership.com/podcast. We love hearing from you. We're very grateful you'd spend this time with us. That's all today from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.